All right, we get there, we'll deal with it. All right, can I get everybody to stand, please, and face the flag for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Dave, Bill, how are you? Okay, all right, tonight's meeting should be pretty regular and pretty pro forma, but if we have any issues or anything, we have our esteemed attorney here to make sure that we, why are you grimacing?
I didn't get that far on the list.
So we should be good. First of all, I'm going to do this at the top of the meeting and kind of put this to rest. So Thursday night, March 28th, which was last Thursday. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim, you're right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we just opened the meeting.
Good one, Dave.
Thank you. All right.
Well, we're behind, so.
So last Thursday, March 28th, at 6 o'clock, we had a gentleman by the name of Mike Wilbur, who was a consultant slash contractor that the village hired last summer to take a look at our fleet. Our Storm King engine number 2 fleet of apparatuses. I think that's, how do you say the plural part? Apparatuses, or apparati?
Apparatus is plural, I think.
Is it? Okay, so regardless, gentleman with 29 years worth of experience, most of it down in the FDNY where he is still a lieutenant. He's also a volunteer firefighter, and he basically came in to take a look at what our fleet looks like, what needs to be replaced, what needs to be repaired, essentially did a triage for us. During the course of that, and following some questions from board members, including myself, regarding the necessity to replace some of the equipment or replace some of the trucks, the question came up regarding mutual aid and how can that be counted on. And I believe I went back in the meeting because I watched almost all of it to make sure I was accurate on this. But I think at some point in time he had said that in Pennsylvania a number of years ago there were some 300,000 volunteer firefighters, and now that number has been winnowed down or whittled down to about 30,000. So essentially 10% of what they once had in volunteers. We all know that there's a paucity of volunteers. We are blessed here. Mr. Wilbur made very, very kind comments in regards to our company, not just the status of the equipment that they had and the fact that they were able to keep vehicles that were 20, 25 years old on the road, serviceable, and able to respond to fires, but also the fact that we had a engaged and robust core of volunteers, which bespeaks volumes about the leadership and what we have. Okay, at some point toward the end, he made comments, and me being a retired FBI agent, I had to go back and listen to it again and then painstakingly transcribe it to make sure, because there were some comments that might have been taken as criticisms of some of the other fire departments around here, criticisms of some of the other local volunteer fire departments, including Cornwall Fire Department. And what I'll do is I'll read what he said, which you can go back and watch on YouTube, but essentially what Mr. Wilbur said, or I'm sorry, Lieutenant Wilbur said, in being asked about mutual aid, and he was talking about the Hudson River, and he says, and I quote, "That bounds you to the east. You have West Point that bounds you to the south. That, come to find out, their ladder truck isn't leaving the base. They will not release it to go, so the only ladder that you have hope for here is Cornwall and their volunteer staffing, and it's my understanding that their staffing is iffy at best." Now, in the moment, we were talking about mutual aid. I didn't sense the disparagement there or how that would have been taken by firefighters, but some of the firefighters, especially uptown at the Cornwall Fire Department, Hudson Highland Engine number 1, understandably took that as a shot, meaning their volunteers were iffy at best, not the quality of them, but whether or not they could, staff for jobs. So I want to say publicly, and I've offered to address this in front of the fire company or the fire department on behalf of the board and say, I apologize. I missed it in real time, going back and listening to the quotes, which I just read off to you. I could understand why they might have taken exception to that, and I'd like to apologize for that. Having said that, I do not believe Mr. Wilbur was seeking to intentionally disparage or impugn the quality of their staffing and their responsiveness. He understands that they're a damn good fire department. He was speaking broader, in my assessment, about mutual aid, and knowing that he's also acting as an advocate on behalf of Storm King Engine Number 2, because his job is to convince the board, and he did a good job of it, that, hey, we need to finance new vehicles and we need to put it at least on a plan where we have a plan going forward that in 5 years this needs to be redone, in 5 years this needs to be redone, you've got time on this, but then you need to do this. I get all that. Interestingly enough, since obviously I have associations with people at the West Point Fire Department, because there were people there that were upset about the vehicles not being able to leave post. And I will speak to the superintendent about that and ask him what the post policy is. I understand that of recent it's been changed to allow their apparatus off of West Point proper, off of the post. But there have been times in the past when apparatus were not allowed to leave the post. So again, Mr. Wilbur is speaking at the macro level, and I apologize if the language was clunky or clumsy or if anyone took that the wrong way. But at this juncture, we know that we have a great volunteer fire department uptown. I spoke to Chief Hines today at length. I know that Chief Quinn also spoke to him personally about this. They were on a job last night in Newburgh. There was a significant structure fire in Newburgh where a lot of fire departments were called. And in doing some research into the responsiveness, I thought I would share something with you. So last night, West Point was called to respond. They were not able to provide a ladder truck, and they sent an engine instead. Apparently, and I heard this from a number of different sources, this might have been related to mechanical issues that they were having with their ladder truck. So that was a comment that Mr. Wilbur made, but last night they didn't have a ladder truck available. Again, busy fire department, and these things happen. Then Winona Lake was called for their ladder truck. They were unable to crew their rig, and that's fire department speak for they didn't have enough volunteers to put staffing on the rig and send it to the fire. Then Vales Gate was called for their ladder, and they were also not able to crew their rig. These are not insults or slights or disparagements of these fire companies. These are volunteers. We're blessed and lucky to have them. But I think the point that was being made, and again, I don't know Mr. Wilbur. I met him the other night for the first time, but he spent a lot of time in the firematic business. But I think that more broadly, he was trying to make the case that we, the village board, needs to take a hard look at our equipment and make sure that we're putting our firefighters in the best position to respond to fires with good equipment. So I'm just going to say this and then close it and say I apologize to the Hudson Island Engine Number 1, Cornwall Fire Department. We love them. They do great jobs. They're down here all the time, and they respond all over the place. I know nothing about their staffing. I don't know what their responses are, but I've never heard anybody say a side word about them or say anything about them. So on behalf of the board, I'm going to apologize on behalf of this village board. Normally, I'm pretty good at meetings of picking things up and addressing them in real time, but I did not catch this the other night. And with that, anything left to add, Deputy Mayor?
You said it all.
Mr. Carnwright? Mr. Brain?
No, it was in the context of a broader set of concerns that he was relaying, and so that one kind of blended in, but I definitely see and acknowledge the oversight on our part, yeah.
Trustee Paleota?
I wasn't here.
Well, then you just heard it. All right. So with that, without any further ado on that, we're going to move forward, and we are going to start with, am I starting with this?
Yeah.
Stay on this thing. Oh, that's right. This is actually the good stuff now. We get to do 2 swearing in. That's why you're here. All right. I saw the camera. I knew you didn't want my picture. All right. So tonight we are lucky to be swearing in Trustee James Kane, because he has not been reappointed the deputy mayor as of yet. Trustee James Kane and Trustee Lori Beth Paleota, and I'm going to turn it over to the village clerk to do that. I think you probably want to go out front there, put that up there, and then I'll let you do your thing.
Ladies first.
Yep, absolutely.
I, Lori Beth Paleota.
Raise your right hand.
Raise your hand.
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of trustee
the duties of trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right.
All right.
Congratulations. Outstanding. All right. Jim, what number is this for you now? This is number 8.
Closing in on Mark's.
Longest tenured member of the village board.
I, James P. Kane,
I, James P. Kane,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
duties of trustee
duties of trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you, Doris.
All right.
All right.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now get to work.
Yes.
Let's go. All right. Thank you, Madam Village Clerk. So moving on now. All right. I guess we have to start with the mayoral appointment of the deputy mayor. And Joe, you have the language here for me, right? I can just say it, right? So this is the only executive fiat that I'm allowed. All right. Well, via executive fiat, yeah, it's going to my head now. I am going to appoint James P. Kane. This will be his, let's see, this will be your 3rd tenure as deputy mayor. So without further ado, I'm going to appoint James P. Kane, deputy mayor. Jim, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And welcome back.
Appreciate it.
All right.
My pleasure.
All right, we're not going to clap for everything because we got a lot of things to
You don't need
appoint.
any more.
Right, no more clapping. Okay, now, the rest is, these are still mayoral appointments subject to board approval. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Doris Wickheiser as village clerk at an annual salary of $72,800. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
None of these numbers, all these numbers have been discussed with the village board beforehand, so they're aware of what these numbers are. That's why there's not going to be a lot of discussion about them. Okay. Next appointment is, which one? It's going to be, I don't need to say that. So next one is going to be the one-year appointment of public officers.
Paula Howard.
So Paula's. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Paula Howard as our deputy village treasurer at an annual salary of $70,591, which works out to be $36.32 per hour. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, next I'm going to make a motion to appoint the deputy village clerk, Megan Gishwin. Last fiscal year was, I listed at, well, I don't need to say that, but at a new salary of, Doris, what is that?
$59,100.
$59,100, which works out to be $30 per hour. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Next, I'm going to appoint Code Enforcement Officer Manny Carmona. Last year's fiscal year salary of $34.94 per hour to a new salary of $40 per hour. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
41.
Was it 41?
On mine it is.
Should be 41.
Yeah. It is on mine.
Yeah, it should be 41.
Mine it is.
I had 21 on mine, Manny.
It should be 40.
Manny, wasn't it 40? Okay.
I have 41 on.
You have 41 in yours?
I have 41 on mine.
Okay. All right. Then I will do it at $41 per hour.
I trust Manny on numbers, but the judge with the agreement, right?
Hold on.
This is the building inspector.
All right, stand by 1 second.
I can.
Pardon me, let me grab some real quick. Can you take a look at that?
I'm looking at.
We got an email.
Not that we don't trust you, man.
I just got a lot of numbers in my head right now.
Maybe 45. I could be wrong.
Could have sworn it was 21, but you know,
It doesn't
I don't
have-
want to nickel and dime you to death. Right.
Paula, what do you have?
I had 40, and that was from stuff from January.
It's not from today, though. Didn't we get it today? Did we get it today, Bill?
It's been changing up until 2:30, 3 o'clock this
Okay.
afternoon.
Okay.
Joe, did your agree?
The agreement says 41, if that's right.
The contract, you mean?
If it says it and it's signed, then it's right.
It says 41, yes.
That was when we met.
You know, I do.
What did you have in the? Okay.
After that, we spoke about it, and then we agreed to it.
I don't see it in the agreement.
All right, so let me do that again. So I am going to do Code Enforcement Officer Manny Carmona at the rate of $41 per hour. May I have a second?
Second,
Further discussion?
I,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Assistant Code Enforcement Officer James Moore, last fiscal year salary of $25.69 per hour, now at $25.63 per hour. Second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And some of these bump ups are related to the 2.5% annual cost of living allowance that gets factored into salaries. All right, next item, Police Chief Steve Dixon. Steve is capped because he's a New York State employee on retirement, and that salary is $35,000 per annum. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, the next are one-year appointments to positions of employment to April 7th of 2025. Tax collector and records custodian will be Doris Wickizer. Deputy tax collector will be Megan Gishwind. Superintendent of Public Works will be Dave Halverson. Last fiscal year salary of $108,680. This year at $111,414. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next, Superintendent of Water, Michael Trainer, last fiscal year salary of $92,486. It is now, today, $94,811, effective May 22nd, which was the date that we had decided upon of 2024. It will go to $103,811. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Secretary of the Planning Board, Janelle Stong, last fiscal year was making $24.95 per hour for a total salary of $45,409. This year, she will be moved to $27 per hour, which brings her rate to $49,140 per annum. May I have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next is, yeah, go ahead, Bill.
on our notes here, we've
We all
seen
are-
that
ours
some of
are
these
all
numbers
different.
are off, and I
Yeah,
think some of it is because, well, go ahead.
It was changing up until the last
Okay.
minute, and I think what I sent to you, I think 2:30 or 3 o'clock today was the last
Yeah.
printing.
We made the last revisions at
got
3
it.
o'clock today to make sure that we had the adjustments right.
Yeah, they're all
I
pretty.
guess there are more
If they're
suggestions.
wrong a little bit, well,
Yeah,
they'll be
and,
right.
and here's where it came down to too, is that employees are entitled to the cost of living allowance. But we can't calculate that on the salary that is proposed to go into effect today. The cost of living goes on what their previous salary was. That's how you factor. So it was a couple of dollars that we had to figure out. Going forward, next year it'll be on their current salary. So that's what the difference was. Okay, part-time clerk Suzanne Yarmus, last fiscal year salary of $19,760 at a rate of $19 per hour. She's being bumped to $21 per hour for a total per annum rate of $21,840. May I have a second? Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Part-time records clerk, Barbara Flukhoft, and I never pronounce her name right. I'm gonna have to get yelled at again tomorrow. She is going to be paid at a rate of $18 per hour, which brings her annual salary to $18,720. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Part-time clerk, working for the Water Department, Stephanie Zagareras. Last fiscal year salary of $21,420 at the rate of $21 per hour. This year, she'll be moved to $21.53 per hour, which brings her total salary to $22,391.20. May I have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. These are appointments. Disaster Control Officer Kurt Hahn. Village Historian Kathleen Christensen. Last fiscal year salary was $1,650. This year, we're bumping her up $100 to $1,750. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll get to the Planning Board Chair, Maureen Spaulding, the Zoning Board of Appeals Chair, Kevin Finn, and the Ethics Board's Chair, John Ross, shortly. All right, Board 1 year,
Just a
Yeah.
point of clarity, we had surfaced the notion of potential compensation for the disaster control officer, but we hadn't. I just wanted to make sure we're not.
yeah, Bill, that's a great question. Yeah, that we are, as of right now, he still works gratis. But yes, it is something the town council and the village board are interested in providing some type of compensation to our Office of Emergency Management Director, because the county has no money, no budget set aside for these folks. They're volunteers. So it is something that the town council and the village board are considering. But yeah, as far as this goes, he will just be reappointed, and we will address that as we go forward. Okay, good point. Board 1 year appointments. Vital Statistics Registrar will be Doris Wickizer, the village clerk. Deputy Vital Statistics Registrar will be Megan Gishwin, the deputy village clerk. Attorney, engineer, and auditor for the village. The attorney will be Catania Mahan and Ryder, PLLC. We received their proposal. Well, their proposal is going to be accepted today, dated April 1st of 2021. Judge, you can, I'm sorry, 2024. Judge, you can stop sweating. You don't have to leave early. Engineer is going to be,
For the record on the, sorry, go ahead.
engineer will be Pintangaro and Deutsch, who provided us a proposal which we accept today on April 1st of 2024. Auditor will be Nugent and Hausler. Now, we've budgeted $22,000, but since next year we only have to do a compilation, Paula, that should drop to 13 or 14,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, because it's not a full audit. So we'll actually not be paying that much. Now, question from the board is going to be, what about the RFPs? We have put RFPs out. Some of the jobs, we don't have all of the applicants in. As for right now, we're going to make these appointments of these, and then the other ones that we have some questions in regards to whether or not the board is going to go with who we've used before, whether it's for excavation services, whether it's for electrical services, whether it's for plumbing services, IT services, all those, we'll make appointments as we go forward.
On those three, we received proposals from each of the three, but no others. Is that because I don't believe that we've had a
We have not.
so okay.
Doris, do we get any other
We did
proposals?
receive another proposal from a different engineer,
Okay.
yes, but the attorney and the auditor, no.
And until we get all the RFPs in for all the different jobs and the board can sit down and assess them, we're going to go with these appointments, and then if we make a determination to go in a different direction, we'll do it at that point in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good question. All
I'm
right.
eager to do so. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure we get to review my materials.
Yes. Appointments to the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Ethics Board. These appointments are subject to their being sworn in within 30 days of this appointment. Planning Board. I know we've discussed this from the dais before. Maureen Spaulding, who has served on the Planning Board for, gosh, I think she took office July 1st of 2015, so I think she's done due diligence here in this village for almost 9 years. She is looking to step off. We are in the process of interviewing prospective candidates to take that position, but Maureen has graciously agreed to be a holdover. So we're not appointing her tonight. She's going to be a holdover, not getting appointed. Joe's nodding, so I got that right. On the Zoning Board, Michael Doyle, we're going to be appointing him because he has a 5-year term and it's expiring. So this new term will expire April 7th of 2029. And finally, on the Ethics Board, Bradley Lavallee, He has a 3-year term expiring, so his new term, after we appoint him tonight, will expire April 7th of 2027. Trustees, you can all see who the members are on the planning board, the zoning board, the ethics board. These are all 5-year terms. On the ethics board, 5-year terms for planning board and zoning board of appeals, 3-year term for ethics board, and 1-year term for alternates. We have no alternates currently on the ethics board. I forget which trustee had asked me what the compensation is for members of these boards. If you were a chair, it is $700 per year, and if you were a member of the board, it is $500 per year. Just for zoning and planning. Ethics board, it is a gratis position. Okay? All right, any questions about the planning board, zoning board of appeals, and the ethics board? Okay. We're very lucky to have these folks. It is a thankless job, and as you can tell by the numbers I just gave you, you don't get very good compensation. All right, appointments to village board committees.
Mayor, did you actually make the motion to appoint?
I didn't. I need to make the motion we're holding over but not appointing Maureen, but I need to make the motion to appoint Michael Doyle to a 5-year term expiring April 7th of 2029 to the Zoning Board of Appeals. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And for the Ethics Board, I'll make a motion to appoint Bradley Lavalley to a 3-year term expiring April 7th of 2027. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Joe. I missed that. All right. This is my favorite part, appointments to village board committees. For audits, the vouchers, full board, and I appreciate the fact that the board members come in and look at every single bill in this office and review them, so at the end of the month, we can reconcile accounts. So I appreciate that. So for the audits, for vouchers, full board. For water, full board. For buildings, grounds, and parks, trustees Carnwright and Paleota. Welcome to the Buildings, Grounds, and Parks Committee. It's a good one. Public safety, police and fire, trustees Brain and Paleota. And Lori Beth, we essentially gave you, you were doing what Rich was doing. Those were his positions. Okay. Insurance and public utilities, trustees Carnwright and Deputy Mayor Kane. Personnel and labor relations, Deputy Mayor Kane and trustee Carnwright. Public works, trustee Carnwright and trustee Brain. Sanitation and recycling, Deputy Mayor Kane and trustee Paleota. That's your favorite
8
one.
times in a row.
And look how far we've come on recycling.
Welcome to the recycling committee.
Yes. Recreation and summer youth programs, trustees Paleota and Brain. Grants and economic development, trustees Brain and Deputy Mayor Kane. Liaison to the Water Committee, Deputy Mayor Kane. Liaison to the Cornwall Conservation Committee. The Cornwall Conservation Advisory Council is trustee Carnwright, and liaison to the Donahue Committee is trustee Brain. Appointments to Workplace Violence Prevention Committee, and believe it or not, we have exercised this committee several times in the, 2 years, trustee, 3. In my 5 years on the board, we have exercised this, I think, 3 times. Does that sound right?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So to the Workplace Violence Prevention Committee, I'm appointing trustee Bill Brain as the village board's liaison, Doris Wickizer as the village clerk, Michael Trainer as the water superintendent, David Halverson as the public works superintendent, Don Bride as the water department employee representative, Thomas Lyons as the DPW employee representative, and Chief Stephen Dixon from the police department. The Safety Committee, I'm sorry?
Aye and nay on the workplace violence.
Oh, I need to make that motion on that, to
And
those
I am in.
appointments?
Different boards do it different ways. I think in the past, this board actually has done it by a vote. So we want to just make a motion to approve the appointments to the Workplace Violence Prevention Committee.
I'd like to make a motion to ratify the appointments to the Workplace Violence Prevention Committee. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Is there any reason I wouldn't vote in that, given that I'm named as the liaison? I can just vote. It's up to me. Well, I might want to recuse.
All right,
I shan't recuse.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
All right.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
consistent, if you want to go back to number 5, the appointments to the-
Do the same thing. So I'm going to make a motion to to appoint the board's one-year appointments, which started with Vital Statistics Registrar the appointments to the village board committees.
Right.
Okay, got it.
As read.
As read, according to text. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next one is the Safety Committee. So on the Safety Committee, we'll appoint Eric Vandermark acting as the DPW representative, Richard Smith acting as the Water Department representative, Michael Trainer as the Water Superintendent, David Halverson as the Public Works Superintendent, and Police Officer Robert Thompson as the Police Department representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, appointments to the Board of Fire Commissioners. We've got 3 good ones, and I guess just one needs to be reappointed. So I'm going to make a motion. So currently on the Fire Commission, we have the Chair, Rick Giampolo, we have Mr. Jeff Armitage, and we have Mr. Michael Butkiss. The only one that is up right now, who took office on October 18th, 2021. So he's finishing his 3-year term. His new term will expire April 1st in 2027, and that is Jeff Armitage. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, appointments to Summer Playground. Actually, it's not appointments, but the update to Summer Playground. The only changes, and the town council, I think, is planning on this week to ratify the agreement that the village board voted to allow me to execute. The only changes to it were that village residents would be paying $350 per child versus $300 last year, and non-village, non-town residents would be paying $450 per child versus $400 last year.
But that was already in our motion last week.
Yes.
So we
Yeah,
had to do
you
it.
gave me,
Yeah,
we don't need to
yeah,
do a motion. You gave me the approval to
Yeah, all right.
execute that agreement, which I have not done yet. Okay, next item is the crossing guard salary that we're going to set at $16 per hour. We currently have one. The village is in the business of seeking a second one, and we have posted for that position, and the salary is $16 per hour. Do we need to pass a
I'll make a
resolution on that?
motion. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Part-time seasonal labor salary, $17 per hour.
I'll make a motion, make it $17 an hour for the part-time seasonal laborer
Second.
salary.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, village board meetings, schedule, agendas, and public comment. Starting time for village board work sessions is 7 p.m. They are on the second Monday of each month, except October, when it will be on the first Monday. Business meetings are the third Monday of each month, except January, February, and March, when they will be on the fourth Monday. The village board will meet with the attorney for the village at 6 p.m. prior to business meetings when so declared. The attorney-client session is not open to the public. Agendas. The mayor will prepare tentative agendas and distribute them to trustees as best as possible on the Thursday before work sessions and business meetings. Agendas will be posted on the village website either Thursday or Friday before meetings. The mayor will receive input from trustees and make any adjustments on the day of the meetings and include them in the black binder in the back of the room available to the public. Public comment. The village board will provide a 15-minute public comment period at the beginning and end of every business meeting. After providing their names and addresses, speakers may address the village board once on village matters for up to 3 minutes. During work sessions, the board may invite persons to provide input on matters it is considering. Purchase and payment of claims. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the following policy for purchase and payments of claims. The deputy clerk and/or the deputy treasurer are pre-authorized to make payment in advance of audit of claims for the following recurring charges: public utility services, postage, freight, and express charges, health and dental insurance, principal and interest on bond anticipation notes, monthly lease agreements, and petty cash reimbursements. All vouchers and claims of the value of less than $250 are pre-authorized for payment by the deputy clerk and/or deputy treasurer, subject to the condition that a proper voucher be signed by the appropriate department head. Such voucher claim is subject to review by the mayor, trustees, or deputy treasurer at any time before or after payment. All vouchers and claims with a value of $250 or more but less than $1,000 shall require review and approval by 2 members of the Audit Committee, as designated by the Board of Trustees, and all vouchers and claims with a value of $1,000 or greater require review and approval by 3 members of the Audit Committee, as designated by the Board of Trustees. And finally, in accordance with the village's procurement policy, all purchases of less than $1,000 are within the discretion of the appropriate department head. However, the department head shall be responsible to verify that the purchase is necessary and that it is consistent with the budget approved by the Board of Trustees. All purchases for $1,000 or more must be made with the approval of the village board and in accordance with the village's adopted procurement policy as set forth herein. Next, designate, I'm sorry, yes.
Is this all part of one, is this a resolution? Or, I mean, it's gotta be resolved there.
Yeah, it does have a be it
So are we
resolved.
voting on each of these sections as,
Not each of the
including
sections,
the-
probably the entire part of it on number 13. Joe, we just do a resolution to approve the purchase and payment of claims policy? All right, so I'm gonna put forth a resolution for board approval for the purchase and payment of claims according to text. May I have a second?
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Bill, for calling that out.
yeah, no worries. And I don't know if we have to vote on, establishing the schedule and agendas and public comment policy and all that. 12, I don't think we.
Joe, we don't have to do that, correct? There was no,
Does anybody have an objection?
I do not object.
okay. All right,
Just in case.
all right, obviously, this one is, we're gonna need to do that, because it is a resolution, so designated depositories. Whereas pursuant to Village Law, Section 4-412, subsection 3 and subsection 2, the village board must designate banks or trust companies in which the treasurer, deputy clerk, deputy clerk, and receiver of taxes may deposit funds received by them. Now therefore be it resolved that the village board designates that Orange Bank and Trust Company, NICLAS, and J.P. Morgan Chase are the official depositories of the village. All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, signature cards, another resolution. Be it resolved that the deputy clerk and deputy treasurer are hereby authorized from time to time for and on behalf of the village to make and sign checks and agreements related to any of the accounts maintained by the village with the bank. Number 2, the deputy clerk and deputy treasurer of the village be and hereby are authorized and directed to certify to banks the names of the present officers of the village authorized to sign for it and the offices respectively held by them. And 3, the deputy clerk and deputy treasurer are authorized and directed to certify to the banks that this resolution has been duly adopted, is in full force and effect, and is in accordance with the provisions of the laws of the village. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, number 16, procurement policy. I also need a resolution on this. Whereas General Municipal Law 104-B requires every village to adopt internal policies and procedures governing all procurement of goods and services not subject to the bidding requirements of GML 103 or any other law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Cornwall and Hudson does hereby adopt the following procurement policies and procedures. Guideline 1, every prospective purchase of goods or services shall be evaluated to determine the applicability of GML 103. Quote, purchaser, close quote, is defined as a village officer, board member, department head, or individual assigned by a department head or the village board to have purchasing authority. Guideline number 2, all purchases of A, supplies, materials, or equipment that will exceed $20,000, and B, public works and or service contracts over $35,000, inclusive of labor and materials, shall be formally bid pursuant to GML 103. Guideline 3, purchase of goods on a single item are as follows. Estimated amount of purchase, $0 to $250. Method, pre-authorized at discretion of purchaser. $251 to $999. Method, pre-authorized with 2 verbal quotations. $1,000 to $4,999. Method, 2 written quotations. And finally, $5,000 to $19,999, 3 written quotations. Purchase of labor and materials and or public works contracts. Estimated amount of the public works contract, anything from $0 to $999. The method required is pre-authorized at discretion of purchaser. Anything from $1,000 to $9,999, 2 written quotations are the method. and anything from $10,000 to $34,999. 3 written quotations are the required method. By written, in quotation marks, this policy shall be understood to mean a written communication provided to the Village of Cornwall and Hudson with the name of the vendor or contractor thereon, furnished by hand delivery, mail, or other carrier, fax, or email. Any written request for proposals, or RFPs, shall describe the desired goods quantity and the particulars of delivery. The purchaser shall compile a list of all vendors for the quotes that have been received by using the form provided by the village. All information gathered in complying with the procedures of this policy shall be preserved and attached to the voucher that is submitted for processing of payment to the successful vendor. In the event that an examination results in charges that will fall under a procurement threshold requiring a form of documentation other than initially anticipated, management will determine if the work can proceed without fulfilling the standard requirements of the applicable threshold. Guideline number 4, the lowest responsible proposal/quote will be awarded unless it is determined that another proposal or quote provides, quote, the best value, close quote, to the village as described in Chapter 28-1 of the Village Code. In such instances, the purchaser prepares a written justification providing reasons why it is in the best interest of the village and its taxpayers to make an award to other than the low bidder. If a bidder is not deemed responsible, facts supporting that judgment shall also be documented. Guideline 5, a good faith effort shall be made to obtain the required number of proposals and quotes. If the purchaser is unable to obtain the required number of proposals and quotes, the purchaser shall document the attempt made. In no event shall the inability to obtain the proposals or quotes be a bar to the procurement. Guideline number 6, except when directed by the village board, no solicitation of proposals, quotes shall be required under the following circumstances. A, acquisition of professional services, and B, emergencies. All purchases made under the emergency exception must meet the following criteria. 1, need arises from an accident or unforeseen occurrence or condition. 2, need affects public buildings, property, or life, health, and safety. 3, immediate action is needed and cannot wait a competitive bidding or competitive offering. 4, sole source situations, not conditions. 5, goods purchased from agencies for the blind or severely handicapped. 6, goods purchased from correctional facilities. 7, goods purchased from another governmental agency. 8, goods purchased at auction. And 9, contracts that have been let by the United States or any agency thereof, any state or any other political subdivision or district there pursuant to New York State Comptroller's Guidelines and General Municipal Law Section 103. Guideline 7, this policy shall be reviewed annually by the village board at its reorganizational meeting or as soon thereafter as is reasonably practicable. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Fund balance
Well
policy.
read, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Fund balance policy. Fund balance is the amount of money that the village has in its rainy day fund. It is unallocated, meaning it is not earmarked for anything else. Purpose: the Cornwall Hudson Board of Trustees recognize that maintaining a fund balance is essential to the preservation of the financial integrity of the village and is fiscally advantageous for the village and the taxpayer. This policy establishes goals and provides guidance concerning the desired level of fund balance maintained by the village to mitigate financial risk that can occur from unforeseen revenue fluctuations, unanticipated expenditures, and similar circumstances. Policy: the responsibility for designated funds to specific classifications shall be as follows. The committed fund balance. The Board of Trustees must pass a resolution to establish, modify, or rescind a fund balance commitment. Assigned fund balance. The Board of Trustees has authorized the mayor and the deputy treasurer as officials authorized to assign fund balance to a specific purpose as approved by this fund balance policy. Minimum unassigned fund balance. The goal of the village to achieve and maintain an unassigned fund balance in the general fund at the end of each fiscal year is not less than 10% of its total operating budget. If the unassigned fund balance at the end of the fiscal year falls below the goal, the village shall develop a restoration plan to achieve and maintain the minimum fund balance. Don't quote me, but I do believe ours at the audit was 58% of our, somewhere in the neighborhood of 58%. So we are well above the 10% where New York State could come in and suggest that we are under fiscal stress. So we're in good position. Order of expenditure of funds. When multiple categories of fund balance are available for expenditure, in other words, a project is being funded partly by a grant, funds set aside by the board, and unassigned fund balance, the village will start with the most restricted category and spend those funds first before moving down to the next category with available funds. Definitions. Fund balance is a measurement of available financial resources and is the difference between total assets and total liabilities in each fund. Government Accounting Standards Board, or the GASB, Statement 54 distinguishes fund balance classified based on the relative strength of the constraints that control the purposes for which specified amounts can be spent. Beginning with the most restrictive constraints, fund balance amounts will be reported in the following categories. Number one, non-spendable fund balance, amounts that are not in a spendable form, in other words, inventory, or are legally or contractually required to be maintained intact. In other words, permanent fund principal. Hang in there, guys, we're getting close. Number two, restricted fund balance, amounts that can be spent only for the specific purposes stipulated by external parties, either constitutionally or through enabling legislation, in other words, grants or donations. Number three, committed fund balance, amounts that can be used only for the specific purposes determined by a formal action of the Board of Trustees. Commitments may be changed or lifted only by referring to the formal action that imposed the constraint originally. In other words, the board's commitment in connection with future construction projects. Number four, assigned fund balance, amounts intended to be used by the government for specific purposes. The Board of Trustees or its designee may express intent. In government funds other than the general fund, assigned fund balance represents the amount that is not restricted or committed. This indicates that resources in other governmental funds are, at a minimum, intended to be used for the purpose of that fund. And number five, unassigned fund balance includes all amounts not contained in other classifications and is a residual classification of the general fund only. Unassigned amounts are available for any legal purpose. The Board of Trustees will review this policy and the village's fund balance annually at its reorganization meeting. Joe, I didn't see a resolution attached to this. Should I pass a resolution on that, or?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to make a motion to pass the fund balance policy as read. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Next item of business, the mileage allowance, and this is a resolution, so I'm going to read it as is. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson is determined to pay a fixed rate for mileage as reimbursement to officers and employees of the village who use their personal automobiles while performing their official duties on behalf of the village. Now therefore be it resolved, number one, the Board of Trustees shall approve reimbursement to such officers and employees at the same rate as authorized by the Internal Revenue Service, known as the IRS, which is currently 67 cents per mile. And number two, this resolution shall take effect immediately. Paula, what was it last year? 65 and a half. So we got an extra penny and a half, 1.5 cents. All right. So without further ado, I'll make the motion to approve that, the mileage allowance as read. Second, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, attendance at meetings, conferences, and schools. Whereas the following activities will occur during the coming official year. A, the annual meeting of the New York State Conference of Mayors and other municipal officials for municipal officials. B, training school for fiscal officers and municipal clerks conducted by the New York State Conference of Mayors. C, monthly meetings of the Orange County Association of Towns, Villages, and Cities. And finally, D, training school for finance officers and municipal clerks conducted by the Government Finance Officers Association. And so whereas the Board of Trustees has determined that attendance by certain municipal officials and employees at one or more of these meetings, conferences, or schools benefits the village, now therefore be it resolved that one, the following officers and employees are hereby authorized to attend the foregoing activities: the mayor, the Board of Trustees, the clerks, the treasurer, Department of Public Works Superintendent, Water Superintendent, and Chief of Police. This resolution shall take effect immediately, so I'm going to make that motion that it, as read, shall go into effect immediately. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. The fee schedule. So the fee schedule is something that we go back and forth every year on.
Never take it up today.
Yeah, we never take it up at the reorg meeting. In Manny, actually, there were a couple things, and I'll talk to you in a sidebar this week, but there were a couple questions that a resident had in regards to the amount on a new build and the different fee structure than the town had, and it was significant. So I just want to sit with you before I bring it to the board and say, do we need to adjust this? Okay, so I'll have a conversation with you about that separately, and then I'll brief the board. Okay, department goals, I'm sorry.
You just wanna make a resolution that the fee schedule from 24
Stays current, yeah.
continues
Fair.
to 24.
You're right. Yep. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that the 2023, 2024 fee schedule will remain in place for the 2024 and 2025 fiscal year. May I have a second?
Review.
Yeah, until such time as we.
Until such time as the board reviews it and decides to make any alterations or changes to it. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Department goals, I know that, do we have all of them?
They're in the packets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that all the department heads every year put together a plan as far as what they'd like to accomplish for the year. So I'm gonna ask the trustees to take a look at that. And if I don't hear from you by next Monday, I'll tell you what, I'll give you until the business meeting. I will meet with each of the superintendents and they will become
Law.
they will become law. Yes. Okay. And lastly, but certainly not least, the official newspapers of the village will be the Cornwall Local. Jason, you got this for another year. Congratulations. Which will be our weekly, and the Times Herald Record, which will be the daily.
Make a motion to accept the same.
Okay. Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, so that is that. Okay, so that moves me on to minutes, and I'm gonna make a motion that the board accept the special meeting minutes dated March 11th of 2024, and the meeting minutes from February 26th, 2004, and
24.
3/25, 2024. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And now, what am I doing on,
Contract, approving managed contract,
okay,
a resolution to accept the contract. And
Okay.
they have it in their packets.
Authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Authorize you to sign a contract.
Got it.
It's in their
Okay.
packets.
It says in here, it says $41 per hour.
It does. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that the mayor be allowed to execute the contract with Mr. Carmona, to be our part-time code enforcement officer. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Pursuant to the terms of the, pursuant to the terms of the draft contract, subject to council's, you're done.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
So pursuant to the terms of the.
Of the contract.
Of the draft contract.
Not
Okay.
draft, not draft.
Draft, the final contract, as written.
Okay, all right. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Manny, welcome back to the village. All right. Good. All right,
That's it.
that's it on that. Other business, we didn't have anything on that. And then the only other thing I have is, remember that the village board's work session is scheduled for April 8th, which is a week from today, at 7 PM. Make certain, and Doris, let's make sure we put this out, next week after the work session meeting, because our business meeting was scheduled for the 15th, but we moved it to the
I've
22nd.
noticed it already.
Okay, just so that nobody gets confused about that. So, work session, April 8th at 7 PM, business meeting, April 22nd at 7 PM, both on Monday. Work session in the work session room, board meeting here. Okay, what else am I missing? Anything else? I promised you under an hour on this one.
4 minutes.
Yeah, I got a few minutes. Okay. Do we, and we don't have public comment at the reorg meeting, do we? No, you don't have public comment? All right, then I'm just gonna go around the board. Trustee Paleota,
I have nothing. I'm good.
okay? Trustee Brain,
We've just gone through a fairly comprehensive list of many of the people who I would like to thank for all of your service throughout the year and in the
Yeah.
upcoming year, including your staff of each of the departments. So thank you all very much, especially, well, everyone equally, and especially those who are not as compensated, the volunteers who are staffing some of the boards that make the business of the village happen. In addition, of course, to all of our wonderful paid employees and staff. Thank you all for making it work. And then also next Monday, I will be missing the meeting, but everybody else should be here for it. But there is an eclipse that day in the afternoon, which I encourage everybody to safely observe. 'Cause it's gonna be
Safely is the
pretty
key
cool.
word
Oh, I
here.
thought you were gonna say want everybody to watch it.
Well, yeah, no, everybody look
Be
up.
careful.
No, just
I know, I
carefully
got my glasses already.
find reliable
buy them at
instructions for how to view it
Cumberland's, by the
safely.
way.
But it'll be a 90-something%
For sale
eclipse
at
here.
Cumberland's.
I'm gonna try and go to where it might be 100% if it's not cloudy, but it'll be cloudy. But we'll see. In any case, should be really cool.
I hear a lot of people are going to Massachusetts. Is that the spot?
No, it's
Rochester,
straight north. You gotta
Really?
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes in a swath
Niagara
from
Falls.
Okay.
central Texas all the way up and cuts across the top
I'll
of
probably go to
the
Texas.
That's
Adirondacks.
a weird,
and-
yeah.
Well, it
Jim,
does like
you'll
a
probably
parabla.
go.
Ah, like
Kind
a
of
parabola,
weird.
You'll
Okay.
probably go to Texas, won't you, Jim?
Yeah. Shoot. All right, Dave, what you got?
No, ditto everything Bill said.
Okay. And Deputy Mayor Kane.
Have nothing further, just say thank you for everyone.
Yep.
Looking forward to another 2 years and work with our new colleague, well, semi-new colleague, Rebecca Pagliona. So, thank you.
All right, I see my man out there getting ready. Just to make an announcement and remind everybody, tomorrow is the primary voting day. As you can see, the machines are here in the back, and my guy's here that makes these things run very smoothly. So Village Hall is open from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. to vote. So you have to be registered in one of the two parties to be able to cast your ballot. So I don't want you to show up and realize that you're not registered. You have to be registered in a party to vote in New York State. And then lastly, everything from now on becomes whimsical for me. This is my last reorganization meeting as mayor. And they don't want me to go past 8 o'clock. And I know.
You can't
Well,
do
then
it
you
a
should,
year.
then you
Just
should.
once. Just
So then,
once
no,
per
then,
year, please.
no, then you
I'm
should have
begging you.
taken the over. But I do want us to do the same thing. Thank everybody you make coming to work every day. These poor ladies and gentlemen in the back that have to, and next to me, that have to deal with me on a daily basis. I appreciate all of you. You make it fun to come to work. And to my board colleagues that have to deal with my text from the earliest portions of the morning till late at night, I thank you for your collegiality and your esprit de corps and for your guidance and advisement. Thank you. You make this job very much worth it. So with that being said,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're out of here.
Did
Did he do it?